Today's daily recap is for Thursday, April the 10th for BTG, Beyond the Gates. Well, Bill decides he's going to take his little child bride, Haley, to the country club for lunch. And she goes, "They're not going to serve me." He goes, "Yes, they are." So he takes her to the club. Danny is there having a meeting with this lady from the foundation that she did the fashion show for. It was a big fundraiser for this particular foundation. And she was gonna give the lady some ideas for the next event. And she said, "I was up most of the night working on this." And the lady is like, "Well, I wish you hadn't done that." And so she's looking. Now, Danny and Haley walk in. They're sitting where they could see Danny, right? Bill's looking and Haley's got her head turned looking because Danny ends up raising her voice, right? The lady says, "Well, you did a great job on the fashion show because remember, everybody, Danny brought in over $500,000 for that foundation." Okay. And so she says, "But we're going to let you go. We're having to remove you as a board member, and you can no longer represent our organization." And Danny says, "Wait a minute, what?" She goes, "Yeah, we wanted to let you go off, on a high note, but there is a clause for all of our board members. You must be role models." And Danny says, "The fashion show was a success. What do you mean?" She goes, "No, there was that incident at your ex-husband's wedding where you were branding a firearm and discharged it in a room full of people." Danny's like, nobody got hurt." She goes, "That's not the point." And I'm thinking in my mind, yeah, it's not the point, Danny. See, for one, you suffered zero consequences for that. None. So therefore you think if everybody does that, you know? Okay. So anyway, Danny says, "Oh, so if my actions were so bad, reprehensible, that you have to remove me from the board, why didn't you do that weeks ago?" Well, Danny says, "No, no, I'll tell you why. Because you wanted to use me. You wanted to take advantage of me doing a great job for this fashion show." She goes, "Like I said, we wanted to allow you the opportunity to end on a high note." She says, "No, you know exactly how much money that I made this foundation. That's what you wanted." So she goes, "Well," and now Daddy's yelling, and Bill and Haley are, "Ooh, ooh, ooh." And I was like, okay, I see you guys are being childish, right? Ooh. And they just, every chance they got, just kissing each other, just because they knew where they were. Danny, just clear eye shot of her, which is Danny can get unhinged, but they do a bunch of crap just to needle her and get under her skin. But then when she reacts, she's out of control. She's out of control, right? So anyway, the lady says, "Well, you know what? What's done is done. And I just needed to let you know." And she gets up and walks away. So Danny's just sitting there. She kind of has her head down a bit. And Bill and Haiti are like, "Ooh, this couldn't have been better. Oh my goodness." She goes, "Thank you, honey, for this great lunchtime treat," right? Now, but I got to step back a bit. When it was time to take the order, the guy came up and says, "Hello, Mr. Hamilton." And he goes, "Hi," whatever his name is. And she goes, "Hi." He acts like she's not even there, the waiter. He goes, "Can I take your order, Mr. Hamilton? I will have blah, blah, blah." And so the guy wrote it down. And then Haley says, "And I will have," and the guy walks away, starts walking away. And Bill says, Excuse me." Let's say, pretend the guy's name is Jim. Uh, excuse me, my wife is ordering. He says, I'll be happy to take your order, Mr. Hamilton. So Bill says, well, today I'm going to be ordering for my wife. And Haley says, I'll have the chicken, blah, blah, blah. He goes, she'll have the, and I thought, oh. No, you know what that mouth said. Because Daily Recap Lady doesn't curse. I don't care who you are. You are an employee of this country club that I am paying handsomely for. Handsomely. You're going to treat every customer that walks through this door with respect. 100%. Now, that country club is pretty much a Dupree country club, but it doesn't say Dupree country club. It's in their community. The Duprees are not getting proceeds from owning this country club, right? So I would have I would have said, you know what? Let me call Justin. And I would have said, is he up in his office? Tell him to bring his behind down here. And I would have called the CEO of the country club to task with this. Say, oh no, this is not gonna happen. But Big Bad Bill didn't do that, which was interesting to me. Big Bad Bill Hamilton. So Anita was coming to get her nails done. And she walked by, but as she's walking straight past, she sees Danny sitting there. And she goes, Danny, what's wrong? And she goes, you knew this was going to happen, didn't you? You knew it. And you didn't tell me, you didn't want me. She goes, wait, hold on. Know what was going to happen, Danny? Oh, so you just happened to be here. And I'm thinking, all you doggone Duprees just happened to be at the club, right? That all of y'all. So no, this is not out of the norm that Anita is there. So Anita says, I have a nail appointment. Now, you tell me right now what's going on. And Danny said, I just got fired from the board of the blah, blah, blah foundation. Anita said, wait, what? She says, yeah, my services are no longer needed because there's a clause, a whatever the name, I forgot the clause so fast. It's getting late, y'all. A decency clause, let's just say that, in the contract. And with what I did at Bill and Haley's wedding, that's grounds for them to let me go, remove me from the board. And Anita said, that wedding was weeks ago. If it was so bad, why didn't they let you go then? And she goes, oh, I'll tell you why. This is Anita saying, because they wanted to use you. It's Dupree money that funds that foundation. And they knew you would raise a lot of money at that. She goes, She goes, oh, no, look, no. She reaches in her purse. She's pulling out her phone. Oh, no. I'm going to take care of this. You're going to be back on this board by the end of the day. And Daddy says, Mom, no, put your phone away. I do not want to work with people that are going to treat me this way. No, no. So her mother puts her phone back in her purse and she goes, okay. So then the next scene, Anita is coming in, or the next scene she's in, comes in, spitfire mad, slams the door. She's coming in, and Vernon is sitting on the couch reading this book, and he's like, what? And he goes, I thought you were getting your nails done. Did somebody break one? She goes, I didn't even get them done. And she tells him what he did to Danny. And he goes, wait a minute. They did what? After letting her work all those hours on that fashion show and raise all that money? She goes, yeah, they used her. And so she says, and they're like, and she's been doing so well. We don't need Danny getting a setback because they're thinking, my daughter, our daughter's unhinged, right? So he says, oh no, nope, that's not gonna happen. That won't do. And Anita says, I have an idea. So then the next scene that they're in, the lady that fired Danny is coming through their door. And she goes, hi, Anita. I'm so happy you called me. And she comes walking in with her tablet and oh, she's so happy. And Anita, as she walks by, the glare, she's looking at this woman like, I'm gonna eat you for lunch. But the woman can't see it because she's, oh, Vernon, I'm so happy you're here. Listen, we got the next event that's coming up that we really need your help for. It's blah blah blah, and Vernon says, no, that won't be, that won't be happening. And Anita's like, oh yeah, we heard what you did to our daughter Danny. Well, we had to protect the foundation, and what she did violated the morality clause or whatever clause that was. And so I know you understand, right? And so Anita said, oh, yeah, we understand. We understand that. And Vernon says, we are removing your foundation as one of the foundations that our Heritage Foundation funds. She says, wait, what? He goes, oh, yeah. The way you handle firing people, that does not meet Anita might be. They were both in and out of that conversation because they were in sync, right? It says, oh no, that goes against our firing policies or morality clause. So your foundation will no longer receive the benefit of all the Dupree money. And she goes, but our foundation gives thousands of scholarships for teens to go to college. You would deny these teens to go to college because we let your daughter go? And Anita says, oh, no. Oh, we're still going to give scholarships to the teens. See, the Heritage Foundation is now going to start its own foundation, its own First to Go. I think it was First to Go to College, something like that. Its own First to Go Scholarship Foundation, assisting teens who are the first to go to college in their family. She goes, so you are going to start a foundation in direct competition with mine? And Vernon says, oh, and our daughter Danny is going to be the chairperson of this foundation. And she looked, and Anita said, see, because our daughter Danny has a lot of good ideas to making money for foundations, as you've benefited from that. So she goes, but you doing a foundation directly in competition to mine. So you, in other words, you are killing my foundation. And Vernon says, killing is such a harsh word. And Anita says, no, it's accurate. I was like, whoa. They can be vicious. Yikes. So anyway, she looked, she says, now, if your foundation can survive without our money, then it survives. But if it happens to wither and die without it, then perhaps you can come to our daughter Danny and ask her for a job. And Anita said, because see, Danny is probably more forgiving than I ever will be. And she looks at the lady. Oh, both of them are like, mm-hmm. Now get your behind up off our couch and get out of here. They didn't tell her that, but the way they're looking at her, like, yeah, you ain't seen nothing yet. Woo! Excellent. So now Martin went to Danny. Danny told him a bunch of stuff. Yeah, Marlene is hard. And he goes, I don't want her to be preyed upon by blah, blah, blah. And she goes, that's where a good parent who gets a good manager comes into play. A manager that's going to be on the set of every shoot to make sure everything is okay and the models is safe. And I kind of think Danny was hoping he would ask her to be Samantha's manager because Martin was giving you the impression he was really considering it now. Yeah. And she goes, and she reminded Martin how when he told his parents he wanted to go into politics as a teenager, going down the same path as his grandfather, she said, Nicole and Ted did not necessarily want you to do it, but they supported you. And he said, yeah, they did. They supported me. She said, because they also knew your grandfather was going to take you under his wing and look after you. She says, Samantha has support. We, Dupree's, will be looking after her. She says, on top of the fact that just getting started, she's not going to be running to Paris doing the big stuff. That takes years to get to. And so she goes, just make sure you support her like you were supported. And he goes, you give me a lot to think about, Aunt Danny, right? That son of a gun goes right back home. Because see, earlier they had this family meeting where he pretty much was telling her, nope. And Smitty was kind of sitting there like, oh my goodness, he ain't even giving it a try. Because Smitty said, look, let's let her just do some local stuff. Let's see how it goes. Let's see how she does little local stuff and handle school. This way she doesn't feel like we're crushing her dream. Martin, he ain't having it. And when Samantha was even talking to Smitty, she said, Dad, and Tyrell was there too. Pop won't listen to anybody. He only considers what he wants done. She says, and we all have to walk on eggshells here in the house. Because if it's something he wants to do for himself, he does it. She goes, why is it no one else's wants matter? And he goes, no, your father's not. She goes, yes, it is. Look at what you had to go through just to go back to work, Dad. So he just looked. So then I told Martin, after this is what they were saying after Martin left after the family meeting. Martin comes back at home. Samantha comes down the stairs and he said, I talked to your Aunt Danny about modeling. She goes, you did? And she enlightened me, you know. She gave me some things to think about. You are? He goes, but ultimately, Samantha, I have to say no. Because it's my job to look after you and make sure nothing happens to you. And she looked at him. She was like, okay. I knew you were going to do this. So she goes back upstairs and Smitty comes from around. He goes, "You heard that, didn't you?" And he goes, "Yes, I did." And that's when he brought up, we, you should have given her a chance. You should have let her know you supported her. And we're going to make sure she's monitored. She said Chelsea would have been there to help her, Martin. We could have, that's when he said, we could have monitored her grades to see how she's he goes, but now she feels she's got no support. And Martin just looks and Smitty just turns away, walks away. And I'm thinking, why did Martin get the say, the final say? How'd that happen? Because see, what Martin says goes, but what if Smitty would have turned around and said, yeah, you could do it? What would Martin say? No, we have to make this decision together as her parents. He did not make this decision together as her parent. He made the decision himself, period. But anyway, that picture of Samantha, I really liked it because Anita had it on her phone and she said, "This is one of my favorite pictures from the fashion show." Right? And it was really cute. So, anyway, to wrap things up, Danny is getting ready to leave the club, and Haley and Bill have to come over and say, "Oh, Danny, sorry you got fired from the board. Ooh, that must have stung." And she's looking at, "Yeah, Danny, I feel so sorry for you. Kind of pity you." This is Haley talking. See, now you got dumped right here in this country club. Now, every time you come in, you're going to have to wonder, are people looking at you remembering you getting fired here? You in the same boat as I'm in. And Danny looks, she goes, "Bill, you need to get your child bride home because obviously her brain cells aren't working right." She goes, "Haley, we are absolutely not in the same boat, not in the least." And so Bill says, he says something else snarky about what you gonna do. "Chelsea's not modeling anymore. Now you lost this. You know you love your charity work. You're gonna have a lot of time on your hands, Danny. But I hope you're not thinking of turning your attentions on me and Haley." And I'm thinking, that's exactly what you're hoping. That's exactly what you're hoping. That's why you're over there trying to needle her, trying to turn a knife so she will do something else to you two. So Danny says, you guys got it all wrong. Just because I won't be working for that foundation, I have already got something else in the works." And she just looked at them both, kind of like, "Watch my dust," which is the attitude Danny needs to have. Haley could no more start anything, anything. Danny, but in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, Danny, hopefully you're thinking I'm going to start a modeling agency. Please let that be it because I don't want you to think, oh, I'm going to be Samantha's manager because Martin hasn't given approval. But let me tell you what that little Samantha did. And this is what Smitty said, "Martin, we don't want her to start acting out now that you're crushing her dream." Samantha got upstairs in Tyrell's room. She picks up the phone. "And Chelsea, listen, I am so excited and it is a definite go with me modeling. So, if you agree to be my manager, what is going to be our next step?" I kind of think she was leaving that on voicemail, right? And she hangs up and Tyrell looks at her, says, "What are you doing?" She's like, "They ain't killing my dream." I was like, whoa, okay, Samantha, wowzers, right? That's a little gutsy, ballsy. Okay, okay. But anyway, that was it. That was it. I really like the flow of kind of what they're doing with the day to day and the different family scenarios, because now they're really setting it up to where everybody doesn't have to be everybody's story doesn't have to be on camera every day, because now we're starting to get enough backstory and forward moving in different you know characters lives on the show, and I'm really liking that. I'm liking that a lot. So I'll be back tomorrow. Let's see what cliffhanger Friday has to do with Beyond the Gates.